Welcome back to As Promised. Listen, I love doing this. I love doing this. So thank you for listening. We're going to jump right in back to, we're on section two of Deepak Chopra and Rudolph E. Tanzi, SuperBrain. This section is called A New Relationship. And like I said in the last episode, I'm not reading the whole chapters to you guys. I'm just reading out parts that stood out to me or allowed my brain to fire off new synapses, new connections, and allowing me to think differently or explore different things. And interestingly, in this section, I didn't actually underline that much, but probably because I wanted to inhale everything. So I'm gonna try and give you like the jargon, not the jargon, the shorter version really quickly, and hopefully that encourages you to, like I said, buy the book and also explore and engage in discourse. Like let's discover together. So this section is called the new relationship, and they start off this section talking about Albert Einstein. If you don't know who Albert Einstein is, then you have to go back to school. I'm joking. Albert Einstein was one of the greatest thinkers, discoverers, let's call him scientists. Like he's just famous for knowing stuff, right? And he died in 1995. 1955, sorry, he didn't die in 1995. I would have been really, really old. At the age of 76. And there was so much curiosity, so much intrigue around his incredible brain, so much so that they performed an autopsy. But what they came to realize and learn about his brain was that it actually weighed 10% less than the average brain, which obviously throws in a lot of confusion because I think as humans, we like to work logically. If you have more in a container, surely it must weigh more. But that is not how our living organisms of our brains work, evidently. This section also goes on to explore encouragement and discouragement, or not being encouraged in children, and how that can manifest with a child wanting to be engaged with learning or life skills or emotional intelligence and all these other words, or how a child could not be. And there was this part of the book that I underlined where it says, discouragement is holistic, encompassing brain, psyche, emotions, behavior, and opportunities later in life. For any brain to operate well, it needs stimulation. Now, a lot of the things that I feel like, this is just me chatting, a lot of the things that I feel like is when, especially at school, I think I've said I struggle with the current education system because they teach different brains how to exist very linearly when I don't think brains do that. We're expansive. We all have different ways that we look at things, like different perspectives, different ways of learning, different ways of engaging, of being present in our growth. And unfortunately, the school system kind of goes plus A plus B. One plus two is three. A, B, C. Like there's a linear type of way to learning. And if that is not how a child or even an adult or anyone in their life journey learns, it can feel really discouraging to even approach that which we don't know and say I might maybe have the capacity to learn this, to cultivate this, to bring this within self and use it for future growth, future opportunities of expansion, right? So when it says for any brain to operate well, it needs stimulation, I was like, okay, so we're exploring the ways in which we have to stimulate our brain, and it's not always going to be the same. Not everyone is going to be able to pick up a book and go, okay, I can read the book from back to front and engage or feel like I have. The only word I can think of right now is eaten the information. I've injected in what's the word I'm looking for? I've engaged. All I can think of is eaten the information and also allowing it to manifest. Like we eat food for sustenance and nourishment in order to have energy, or in order to, I don't know, if you're a gym body, have gains and stuff like that. We don't really look at the same. We don't look at information the same way, knowledge the same way, because I believe that the education system, once we leave there, we're like, phew, we don't have to learn anything anymore. But that is not true. And I feel like it can also leave us very stagnant and quite limited and bound if we stop learning. Here's a section. SuperBrain rests on the credo of connecting the mind and brain in a new way. It's not the physical side that makes the crucial difference. It's a person's resolve, intention, patience, hope, and diligence. These are all a matter of how the mind relates to the brain, for better or for worse. Which is what I tried to say, but in a better way. That it is different. Each individual is different in the way in which they come and receive information. Each individual has different ways in which they come and absorb, yeah, information. How they allow it to influence or guide or manifest in their life. And also, I think that the best way in finding out what those ways are is by listening to what the brain says. How does the brain want to learn? How does the brain want to engage? If we have told ourselves, or we got ourselves in a place where we do not engage, I do not learn, I'm not a good learner, I'm not a good reader, I'm not a good listener, XYZ, we're teaching the brain how to say no to new information, which ultimately leaves us in a place of non curiosity, um, stagnation, and actually isolation. If you're not open enough or willing to learn, you isolate yourself because everything is changing all the time, and it's changing at a rapid rate, especially in the digital age that we live in now. I imagine that if we said, no, I don't want to engage with the internet a lot, there would have been a lot of stagnation in regards to the capacity, the capacity we have to connect, the capacity we have to explore, some even travel, like looking at travel blogs, vlogs, or just sheer images that these laptops even put on our screensavers sometimes of places that we didn't even know existed in the world. These expand our mind, they expand our thinking. And I think that's very important to both the individual and the collective. So I'm going to read that again. SuperBrain rests on the credo of connecting the mind and brain in a new way. It's not the physical side that makes the crucial difference. It's a person's resolve, intention, patience, hope, and diligence. These are all a matter of how the mind relates to the brain, for better or for worse. Okay, next section. I had to go Google define what credo meant for a hot second because, you know, just because I'll be saying words doesn't actually mean that I know what I'm talking about. So, credo, which is a noun, a statement of the beliefs or aims which guide someone's actions. A creed of the Christian church in Latin, a musical setting of the Nance Creed typically is part of a mass. But anyway, a noun, a statement of the beliefs or aims which guide someone's actions. That's what credo means. Okay. So at the end of that section, it says we can summarize the relationship in 10 principles. A super brain credo, how the mind relates to the brain. Number one, the process always involves feedback loops. Number two, these feedback loops are intelligent and adaptable. Number three, the dynamics of the brain go in and out of balance, but always favor overall balance, known as homeostasis. I hope I said that right. Number four, we use our brains to evolve and develop, guided by our intentions. That one's powerful. Intentions, interesting. Number five, self reflection pushes us forward into unknown territory. Like that. Number six, many diverse areas of the brain are coordinated simultaneously. Seven, we have the capacity to monitor many levels of awareness. even though our focus is generally confined to one level, i.e., waking, sleeping, or dreaming. Number 8, all qualities of the unknown world, such as sight, sound, texture, and taste, are created mysteriously by the interaction of mind and brain. Number 9, mind, not the brain, is the origin of consciousness. And number 10, only consciousness can understand consciousness. No mechanical explanation I'm going to start that again. Only consciousness can understand consciousness. No mechanical explanation working from facts about the brain suffices. It goes on to say, these are big ideas. We have a lot of explaining to do, which the book definitely did. But we wanted you to see the big ideas up front. If you lifted just 2 words from the first sentence, feedback loops, you could memorize a medical school class for a year. The body is an immense feedback loop made of trillions of tiny loops. Every cell talks to each other and listens to the answer it receives. That is amazing. For me, that just feels like our bodies are in constant dialogue with self, with each other, on a real mercurial level. We're in dialogue, which means that isolation or loneliness or ideas are even just manifested in the brain aren't actually true, because you can't be lonely if you've got all your cells chatting to yourself, vibrating to yourself all the time. I don't think anyway. Okay, here's the section. But when you think a thought, your brain sends information to the heart. And if the message is one of excitement, fear, sexual arousal, or many other states, it can make the heart beat faster. Now, that's true. The brain will send a counter message telling the heart to slow down again. But if this feedback loop breaks down, the heart can keep racing like a car with no brakes. Patients who take steroids are replacing the natural steroids made by the endocrine system. The longer you take the artificial steroids, the more the natural ones ebb. And as a result, the adrenal glands shrink. The adrenals are responsible for sending the message that slows down a racing heart. So, if a patient stops taking a steroid drug all at once, then tapering off, the body may be left with no brakes. The adrenal gland hasn't had time to regrow. In that event, somebody could sneak up behind you, yell boo, and send your heart racing out of control. The result, a heart attack. So, well, my mum might be listening to this, yeah. Well, my mum probably is listening to this because I love you, mummy. I scare my mum quite often. I jump out at her. I, I'm just one of those, let's say, playful children. I like to make sure she's present, but also I know my mum doesn't take steroids, so she wouldn't be having a heart attack anytime soon. But it's interesting that if you substitute that which is naturally within your body already with supplements, or you don't allow your body to re-engage with itself when you come off these supplements, what is left? I think that's really interesting, especially in a world where health or fitness or feeling good internally is really driven by external stimuluses. Um, oh, you want to sleep better, take ashwagandha. You want to do this better, take this. Da, da. When all of these, the things that we desire are already within self, we just need to stimulate that within self. I think is very, very exciting. I also understand why people go to the outside to stimulate themselves. I mean, it's also a scary journey to go inward, to acknowledge that you are absolutely in control. It then means that you have to take accountability of yourself and your life when you acknowledge that you are in control. And that's a scary thing to do. But we have books like this that help us. Let's go back into it. So, you can lower your blood pressure, for example, or change your heart rate. You can induce the alpha wave state associated with meditation on. Ooh. You can induce the alpha wave state associated with meditation and artistic creativity. We got to go find out what alpha wave state is. I'll be right back. So this was so super interesting, and I did it quite quickly. Alpha wave states. Alpha waves are a medium frequency pattern of brain activity associated with restful and meditative states. These waves measure between 8 and 12 hertz, indicating that the brain is active but relaxed. While researchers are still learning more, there is some evidence that alpha waves play an important role in well being. When it comes to work performance, the most valuable brain waves of them all, the gold standard, are your alpha waves. Think of this state as a kind of work hypnosis where you're fully engaged with your subject matter, yet completely happy and relaxed as you calmly and deftly decimate deadlines. How do you put yourself in an alpha wave state? Meditation or exercise. Deep breathing and closed eyes Deep breathing and closed eye visualization are techniques that mindfulness meditation usually employ to boost alpha waves. Besides relaxation, alpha waves may also help boost creativity for all my artists listening right now. They also act as a natural antidepressant by promoting the release of the neurotransmitter serotonin. Oh, our brains actually produce antidepressants. Like, this is what I was saying just now in the last section before. We often seek outside external stimuluses to help us feel well in our being, but these are things that are all internal. They're already there, and we just need to access and activate them. And the way that we do that is by engaging in alpha wave states or other states that we explore in this book. And that is by meditating, exercise, go for a walk, a jog, stretching. Stretching is also exercise. Getting on YouTube, there are so many, like 20-minute, 10-minute, 15-minute, however long you want to do, walking exercises, dance exercises, Zumba. My girl Sarah teaches a Zumba class in South London, Oval. Big up. If you want to go there, I'll send you the link. Like, there are loads of opportunities for us to promote well-being internally, which means that we don't actually have to go and spend a pretty penny in I was about to call out the name of the store that I spend all of my money on, all of my money for my holistic goods on. All of these things are available to us internally. And I actually just want to acknowledge how powerful it would feel, how powerful it does feel to go on an internal journey of healing and acknowledging that all of the tools, all of the things that we are seeking for externally are already within us, dormant possibly, which goes back to the little section of where if a person takes steroids and they just come off it, you don't allow your body the opportunity to re-strengthen, regrow. So starting off with a meditation of 5 minutes and then going to 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, starting off with a bit of reading of I don't read books to finish the book. I read books to study the book, or so I'm never really like I have to read 10 chapters. I have to do this. I'm like, what am I learning from this section? And that actually goes for my fictional reading as well, because I find fiction just so incredible. As you know, I'm obsessed with stories. But isn't that amazing that the alpha wave state, which is already within us, just needs to be accessed? It just needs to be unearthed. And we can do that by meditation or exercise. Listen, I'm loving it. Go on, SuperBrain. I love books like this. Also, if you are tentative, apprehensive, hesitative, is that word, about meditation, I've got it's an hour long, so you might not want to do an hour long, but I do have I call it my own spiritual practice meditation on my podcast. It's not on YouTube, but it is on Spotify. There are loads, there's a wealth of meditations on YouTube, and whatever I'm feeling or whatever top up I feel like I need, I'll type in. So if I'm like anxiety reducing meditation or abundance meditation, joy meditation, just putting those into Google, not Google, YouTube. There are so many available to you. And if you love Deepak Chopra, I remember there's actually, he has a 12-minute one. It's called 21 Days of Abundance. And that is on Apple Podcasts. Okay, we're going back in. We fall into the biological fallacy, which holds that humans are controlled by their brains. Leaving aside countless arguments between various theories of mind and brain, the goal is clear. We want to use our brains, not have them use us. Actually, let me just give a little side note. Sometimes I'll be saying things and I'll be thinking, I know I sound absolutely balmy. Like, nobody is going to believe this, or nobody is going to listen to me. Like, why would anyone think, if you can just go to the store and get, this medicine and that medicine, why would you sit there and meditate for 20 minutes, like da da da? But that is also a part of my brain trying to discourage me, because I either have learned dialogue or preconditioning dialogue in my brain that says all of this stuff doesn't make sense, or why are you investigating this stuff, why are you da da da? Because your brain wants to continue doing that which has become habit. We like to work in patterns. We like to do things that are familiar to self. And it's really interesting to me, because often I see um, random people and loved ones comfortable in suffering, because that is what the brain tells them. This is where we live. This is what we know. Is that the brain, or is that the mind? That might be the mind, because it has a story attached to it. The brain is just like electrical signals and stuff like that. So the mind tells us this narrative that, you are not deserving, or have you done enough? Are you enough? Are you sure? Oh my gosh, what makes you think you can sit here on YouTube, Bronco, and talk about brain? You don't know any stuff. Well, no, I absolutely don't. I'm reading it from a book. However, I am retraining my brain. I'm telling my mind to keep quiet, and I'm retraining my brain to believe that absolutely everything and anything is possible. That it is an incredible living organism that I have not yet fully investigated. And in doing that, I become excited. I become revived, like alive. I just overjoyed in the fact that I see new things, I feel new things, I experience or have a different perspective around new things. So going back into this statement that I just read, we fall into the biological fallacy, which holds that humans are controlled by their brains. Leaving aside countless arguments between various theories of mind and brain, the goal is clear. We want to use our brains, not have them use us. The human brain can do far more than anyone ever thought. So even when my mind is telling me, are you sure about this? What are you talking about? All of the Even when my mind is trying to discourage me, because I have allowed those thought patterns, I have allowed those habitual it froze. I don't know why it did that. Also, if you are tentative, I'm so sorry. I don't know why it's doing any of this. I am not too computer savvy. I can't lie, but I'm trying. Biological fallacy. Just a quick interlude there. I don't know what happened. Okay. We're back on track. So, as I was saying, I have, narratives, patterns that my mind likes to engage in, that likes to discourage me from going on journeys of learning or going on journeys of expansion, because I'm like, are you sure? Are you sure? But yes, because the human brain can do far more than anyone ever thought. And the people that inspire me, the thinkers, the writers, the storytellers, the artists, the scientists, when I even just investigate on a small level what they have discovered, I'm just like, wow, if the brain can do more than that, still, we are living on a gold mine. We are walking around with literal gold in our minds and we are not mining it. Okay, let's go back to this section. On the contrary to outworn beliefs, its limitations are imposed by us, not by its physical shortcomings. For example, when we were getting our medical and scientific training, the nature of memory was a complete mystery. Another saying circulated back then: we know as much about memory as if the brain were filled with sawdust. Fortunately, brain scans were on the horizon, and today researchers can watch in real time as areas of the brain light up to display the firing of neurons as subjects remember certain things. The Astrodome's roof is now made of glass, you could say. Come on, bars. Now you know why I love neuroscience. Bars. Okay. But memory remains elusive. It leaves no physical traces in brain cells, and no one really knows how our memories are stored. But there's no reason to place any limitations on what our brains can remember. A young Indian math prodigy gave a demonstration in which she was asked to multiply two numbers, each 32 digits long, in her head. She produced the answer, which was 64 digits, no, sorry, 64 or 5 digits long, within seconds of her hearing the two numbers. On average, most people can only remember 6 or 7 digits at a glance. So, what should be the norm for memory? The average person or the exceptional one? Instead of saying that the math prodigy has better genes or a special gift, ask another question. Did you train your brain to have a super memory? I mean, okay, so us as artists, right? If you're an artist and listen to this, I did a one woman show in 2021 called Lava by the incredible Benedict Lombe. And it was just me. For what, I can't remember. I think it was like an hour and a half. And it's my job, right? So I wasn't afraid of not knowing the lines, but they were all there. Did I train my brain to have a super memory? So interesting. Everything, everything hinges on how you relate to your brain. By setting higher expectations, you enter a phase of higher functioning. By setting higher expectations, you enter a phase of higher functioning. Oh, wow. One of the unique things about the human brain is that it can only do what it thinks it can do. Whoop! Let me read that again. You see, when I said boss. One of the unique, oh gosh, I'm so excited. I'm actually not even saying the words correctly. Like my words are blah, 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 blah. Bear with me. One of the unique things about the human brain is that it can do only what it thinks it can do. The minute you say, my memory isn't what it used to be, or I can't remember a thing today, you are actually training your brain to live up to your diminished expectations. Okay, shots fired. It says, low expectations means low results. That goes for everything. That even goes for expectation of self. Low expectations means low results. The first rule of SuperBrain is that your brain is always eavesdropping on your thoughts. As it listens, it learns. If you teach it about limitation, your brain will become limited. But what if you do the opposite? What if you teach your brain to be unlimited? Yes. Listen. Listen. Are you listening? Okay. No matter how inefficiently you are using your brain, one thing is certain: it is the gateway to your future. Your success in life depends on your brain, for the simple reason that all experience comes to us through our brains. So that goes back to what I was saying about the narrative of the mind talking, making comments, making, adding emotions, adding story, adding, oh, does this make sense? Are you sure? Blah blah blah. Why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? In order to discourage us, because we have taught our brain. It's listened to the mind's thought. It's listened to the narrative, the what we have told ourselves prior. Don't get me wrong, like there is a lot of unpicking to do. There is a lot of unlearning to do, and that can feel or appear as daunting, but we cannot be afraid. We can't fear the capacity of which our brains want to expand to. Low expectations means low results. High expectations means high results, high frequency, alpha wave state results. Talking about feeling good, feeling 100, because we have trained the brain to acknowledge not only the fact that it is incredible, but the beauty in life, the beauty in learning, the beauty in knowledge, the beauty in going, I did not know that before, but wow, I can learn it now. Come on, super brain. As it listens, it learns. Of course, if the brain itself is just a living organism, if it's just electrons firing off and stuff, and the mind is where the narrative exists in, it's going to be listening to the mind, it's going to be listening to the cells, it's going to be also, that's what we were saying before, it's all in dialogue. If we are in dialogue with ourselves and the thoughts are negative or pessimistic or downtrodden, or I'm not good at this, I don't know how to, I don't know, this is difficult, blah blah blah, our brain is going to go, okay, sure. Especially if consciousness begins in the brain, right? Wow. Guys, I think we're going to have to end it there. It's 30 minutes. Let me tell you something. This is only page 16 in this book. Page 16 of a 310 book. So these they're going to be a fair few episodes, and I hope you stay with me on this journey, because I can't wait. I can't wait to feel and acknowledge the growth that our brains will have gone on once we complete this series together. Like I said, I read this book a few years ago, and I know it did something to me then, but I feel like even now it's doing more, because my brain has grown. My brain has the capacity to learn more. So, quick recap: alpha wave states. They're really good for well-being. They're really good for getting shit done. They're really good for focus and feeling at ease and calm. How do we get into those alpha wave states? Meditation, exercise. I'm sure food is very important there, even though we haven't picked up on it in the book yet. We've acknowledged that the mind and the brain are in dialogue. The brain is the scientific part, and the mind is probably the narrative part, the emotive part, that which we experience, our perspective. If our perspective is clouded or colored with things we don't like, things we don't appreciate, things that we, make us feel sad or heavy, our brain learns that and it continues to create that as an experience for self. What else we're on a journey of is learning that we can actually start to investigate changing that for self and saying, okay, I don't want to feel this way anymore. I don't want to repeat these narratives. I don't want to reinforce these thought habits. And even though it might be scary, having awareness around it, going, I don't think that's true. I'm not going to tell my brain that today, allows us to retrain our brain, re-educate our minds, and expand ourselves into new territory that we didn't even know existed before. Isn't that exciting? Isn't that exciting? One of the unique things about our brain is that it can only do what it thinks it can do. Thank you for listening. Have a great week.